So, without further ado, welcome. My name is Writer Maven. I am the host of the Wrestling Receive podcast. I talk all things Judgment Day, Dom, Liv, Raquel, Finn, JD, Roxanne, and poor Carlito. Did the king of the Luchadores acquire himself an army? Think about it. Is Dominik Mysterio on the sly building himself an army? Tonight we saw the debut of El Grande Americano Tres. And who is El Grande Americano Tres? Pete Dunne. Now, who was the other person I was talking about this past weekend saying who Dom talked to? I said Butch, but I was meaning Pete Dunne. Dom talked to Pete Dunne. So during the course of the recruitment drive for Judgment Day, when Finn was having a fit and he was like, no new members and he brought in Roxanne anyway, who was Dom talking to? Dom talked to Ludwig, Pete Dunne, Karrion Kross twice. He only made a overture to get Penta to join, but it was not somebody he was talking in secret in the background. So, with the debut of El Grande Americano Tres, I'm thinking Dom is building himself an army because the king of luchadors will need an army to defend his throne. And to give y'all something to think about, notice that both El Grande Americano Dos and El Grande Americano Tres helped out Finn Balor. So when somebody helps somebody out, how do you feel about them? Just something to think about. Also, this Monday Night Raw was a tale of two Doms. I say a tale of two Doms because Dom had pretty much a split personality almost. During the mixed tag team match, we saw him channeling his real father, Eddie Guerrero. He was very sneaky. He was very calculated. He didn't get much offense in, but I'm guessing they're going to save that for SummerSlam because they don't want AJ or Dom to show all the offense because they're going to have a match on Sunday. So that's excusable. But notice how he was dealing with AJ during the match. Normally, he would be very cowardly, running away, this, that, and the third. But here, he was very sneaky. He was calculated. He was picking on AJ, so AJ would come after him, and the referee would have to stop him. That's very sneaky, and that's a distinct change from the Dom that we've been seeing these past few months and years. And on the flip side, we had the Dom, Dominik Mysterio, who only has one brain cell, where he's talking about being really excited about a Switch 2 and things like that. Now, I still feel this is for Finn's benefit because I've always kept saying, and even though people get mad about Dom how he does things, he has to act a certain way. He can't start blowing up on Finn and then not have Finn react. You can't do that right now. Now, we might start seeing it after SummerSlam, and I really hope we do, but I'm going to get into why Dom is really being duplicitous. He's being duplicitous like he was last year, but he's doing it in a very different way, and I'm going to get into that. So, for Monday Night Raw, let's get into that mixed tag team match. First of all, straight off the bat, they mentioned Dom invading AAA and his pop. Now, that is good because that brings what Dom did in AAA and challenging for the Mega Championship in AAA, that brings it to WWE canon. So it's not like Dom is doing something on his own in another promotion that they don't talk about. They brought up and what he did. Same thing with El Grande Americano Dos too. But it's really important that this was mentioned because that also gives fuel to the fire that Finn will mention it in the future. I was hoping he was going to bring it up tonight, but maybe they're saving that for later, maybe after SummerSlam. In this match, we had AJ and the Kabuki Warriors versus Dom, Roxanne, and Raquel. I had the joke on the X of the pirate community. If you know, you know where I got that joke from. But it was kind of tongue in cheek there. We had straight off the bat Dom starting shit with AJ. I loved it. this was what, again, this is what's needed. We all want Dom to be super aggressive. We see in AAA, and we've seen at Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank. We really want that side. I get it. But here we saw Dom being very sneaky and calculated. That's a change. I will take it. It's a positive step in the right direction. So you have to show baby step growth with Dom when it comes to shifting his character. We want him to be like the Eddie type character where he's very sneaky and calculated, and maybe eventually he'll get into that lovable rogue type character of Eddie Guerrero. But you have to shift it gradually. You can't just switch it off the bat. Otherwise, it just comes off jarring. So what Dom here with antagonizing AJ, and he did this throughout the match, was good. I liked it. Cole was still being asked about Roxanne. So when Dom was saving Roxanne from, I believe, Kari, and notice that Raquel prompted that. Raquel prompted Dom to do that. That wasn't Dom kind of doing that on his own. Cole was like, "Oh, love is in the air," and I'm like, for fuck's sake, Michael Cole. Him saving a tag team partner where there is women on this in this tag team match, this mixed tag team match, and that prompts that. Like, I really don't like this with Michael Cole. At least he toned it down a lot this week. So maybe somebody finally got in his ears about it because he was talking about how people were complaining about online about him disregarding Liv Morgan. So maybe somebody finally got in Cole's ear about that and just say, hey, tone the shit down because it was just so much last week. This time he did it here or there, and while it was still annoying, at least it wasn't all throughout the match. But like I said, I really don't like how every time Dom's around some other woman, it just brings up he's cheating or something like that. Good grief, man. Not even Eddie got that, and he was a flirt. I do like how Corey was talking enough. That's why I like Corey. He's the heel. He's supposed to be ridiculous about certain things, so I could take Corey talking up Dom's animal magnetism, quote unquote. I could take Corey talking about Dom's animal magnetism other than Cole. Cole was just annoying about it because he just keeps harping on stuff that isn't happening. But Corey is the heel commentator who will exaggerate, and he's really talking up the heel. So it's more acceptable coming from Corey than Michael Cole because when Dom was with Rhea, Corey did the same thing where he would just talk about just how he's Latin lover pretty much. But again, that's something that's not annoying coming from Corey Graves. Dom is still acting like a sneaky heel. He is not getting that sympathy. We got dual chance between AJ Styles and Dom Mysterio tonight, but Dom is still working as a heel. And Cole is not helping things when it comes to Dom's presentation. So, like I said, I really don't think Dom is turning face. The crowd will cheer for him, and you mentioned the pop, but that's something where he's still not getting the sympathy. It's not like a Jacob Fatu. You know, with Jacob Fatu, we had the little interlude of Solo running him down and commentary really playing up the sympathy for Jacob Fatu when Solo was being asked about Jacob. We're not getting that with Dom. So I'm really thinking Dom is staying heel. What Finn does, I don't know. When he had that tag team match, which I will talk about later on, crowd was dead. And I felt sorry for LWO because I really liked them and I was really pushing for them. Not because I wanted them to win for storyline purposes, but just because I thought they should win because I think they deserve that opportunity. But I'll get into that later. But it's just like you got Dom here who's acting like the heel, and then you have Finn here who's still acting like the sneaky heel. But Dom is coming across it a lot more authentically, I'm guessing, where you can see you can see what he's doing. Finn is just so out there and over the top and obvious that it's going to blow up in his face, and maybe when it blows up in his face he turns face because where else can you go? he's not getting the reaction. JD's not even getting the reaction anymore, and he was getting a face pop when he returned. Raquel looked like a beast in this match. It was mostly Raquel and Roxanne working the match. Dom and AJ were on the outside because Dom was going to start first, and then he immediately tagged himself out again. Heel behavior. So it was Raquel and Roxanne working the match. We had the nice spots of Raquel doing the power moves. We also saw AJ do this really nice where he picked up or springboarded Kyrie so she could do an insane elbow onto Roxanne to the outside. That was gnarly. I actually liked it. So that was it was a really good match. Like I said, AJ and Dom got limited offense in here, or at least Dom did, but like I said, I believe they're saving that for SummerSlam because you can't run the same match twice and not have it to be exciting. So you have to save something for Sunday. AJ picks up the win, and I was expecting that, and that pretty much shows me that Dom is going to win on Sunday because you had AJ finally get his leg back for Dom dodging him and picking on him and things like that. So AJ gets that little win to get his leg back, and then Dom will win the war on Sunday. Other interesting bits in this match was Roxanne doing the stepping in front of Dom. We had Roxanne step in front of Dom. Notice how Dom almost took Roxanne's head off when he was trying to go after AJ. He did not care about Roxanne at all. That dude he nearly took his head off, and then Roxanne failed to protect Dom. Who protected Dom the last time? Who stepped in front of Dom's spot? Liv, and she got Braun Strowman, not Braun Breaker, Braun Strowman to back off. Roxanne couldn't even do that. And so it's pretty much Raquel and Roxanne pretty much failing to protect Dom when he needed him. And again, that shows more separation between Dom and the rest of Judgment Day. But AJ won, and because I was expecting, and it just shows me that Dom's going to win. It's going to be 80-20 because we always have to allow for 20% of Triple H's bullshit. But I really think Dom is winning, and I really think he's going to win that Mega Championship, and I think he's going to be a double champ. The big takeaway from this mixed tag team match was that Dom wasn't acting like a super coward. And by super coward means he was just begging off. You remember how he would used to do those spots in the match where he would beg for people not to hit him? He really didn't do that here. He was waving off AJ when AJ finally got tagged in, but that's expected. It's not like he was doing the whole pleading spot. So again, that's a huge change. But I just really like Dom's presentation here. I will take it. Would I would like to see more aggression? But he did things that were showing changes to his overall presentation, match wise and character wise. In that vein, since I'll get to the Clubhouse thing, I think it's really just showing that I don't think it's going to be a turn. Dom just gets attacked and gets tossed out because, like I said, I think that goes counter to King of Luchadors. You can't do a simple turn on Dom and then have Dom become King of Luchadors because that goes counter to what's going on, especially with what he's doing in the WWE right now. If they had him still be kind of cowardly, I could see it. But right now, I'm not seeing a turn on Dom and then Dom retains King of Luchadors. Now, they might attempt to do that. I'm not saying that they won't try to do it, but I really don't think I don't think it's gonna be betrayal. Maybe it's not gonna be a betrayal in the way we think it's going to be betrayal. It could still be Dom betraying Judgment Day. You know what I mean? But let's get into the Clubhouse. Everybody's sad. Well, at least Rox, Raquel, and Dom are sad. JD had to tell Finn to cheer up the group. So again, that's showing how Finn is only the leader when he wants to be the leader. Because usually, if you're the leader, you should be doing the rah rah speeches anyway. So why is JD having to prompt Finn to cheer up the group? So Finn has the rah-rah speech. He mentions that Judgment Day, they thought Judgment Day would be dead with Rhea leaving, Damian leaving, and Liv. All right, I see you. You say Liv is leaving and Judgment Day will still be there. Whatever, dude. Dom offers. Dom asks if Finn needs help, and Finn says, "Nah." He says to play some video games, and this is when Roxanne offers to play 2K25 and brings out that Switch 2. Raquel also mentions that Liv plays Switch 2, and then that's when Dom's face lights up, and then he wants to FaceTime Liv. Now, let's break this down a little bit, shall we? Finn is obviously trying to use tactics. Liv used tactics last year to snare Dom. Stepping in front of Dom to save Dom from Braun Strowman, offering him the video games, the chicken tendies, all that. Now, what Finn is not realizing, Dom and Liv were already together. If we operate off the theory that Dom and Liv hooked up way before WrestleMania last year, I'm talking about Elimination Chamber 2024 and earlier. If we operate with the assumption that Liv and Dom hooked up and were already together, they had plotted the attack on Rhea, things like that, then when Finn came in, he really thought that he was really orchestrating Liv and Dom getting together, but that's not the case. When Liv and Dom were doing their little show, it was to throw off the sense of Rhea and Damien, because you Dom needed to still be acting like he wasn't interested in Liv to keep accidentally on purpose helping her out. He did it with Zelina, and he did it with Rhea, and he did it with Becky. So Dom had to keep acting a certain way to still be around Liv when he wanted to. He couldn't just straight up go to Liv. He had to act a certain way so he could be around her. And then he had to be a certain way to act when Liv needed help in her matches, because it's real easy to play dumb and stupid, which is what's how this one brain cell Dom is acting right now. It's real easy to act like that when you're trying to play off like, oops, I did this accidentally on purpose. How he accidentally on purpose cost Finn qualifiers, accidentally on purpose cost Finn the Intercontinental Championship. He has to act a certain way. And once he gets to a certain point where he can free himself or finally spring the trap, he'll do it and everybody will be caught off guard. So he has to play dumb. I know it is really hard for us to see Dom in his one brain cell actions, because we've seen it last year, we saw it this year, and with the Judgment Day storyline, it's just gone on to the point where we just want it to end. If this had been a shorter storyline, I don't think we would be so exasperated with it at this point. But since this storyline has been dragged out for so damn long, Dom has to act like this idiot fool type character. And remember, what is the tarot card assigned to Dom? He's the fool. And what does the fool does? What does the fool does? He acts like he's stupid, but he's not. So Dom has to act a certain way. So he has to act like what Finn is trying to do is working. He's just not going completely all the way with it. So it's not like he's all accepting of Roxanne and things like that. Nah, because the man almost took off Roxanne's head off tonight. But he's doing just enough to keep Finn on that leash. He has to keep doing things to make it look like it's working. Finn is thinking because he thought he got Dom and Liv together last year, he can run the same thing so he can put Dom and Roxanne together and kick Liv out. But that's not the case. Dom and Liv were already together. They just brought in Finn to help out with Damien and help with their plan. Because if y'all were watching last year, it was Dom and Liv showing up together on screen. Dom and Liv sneaking around way before Finn was even brought into the picture with Liv. It was almost like a month or two before Finn was even introduced into anything sneaking around with Liv and Dom. I will say that Raquel is being really confusing as fuck again, because, like I said on the X, if you are exasperated with Liv or you're already planning with Roxanne and Finn, Why would you bring up Liv when saying Liv would always play 2K25? That goes counter to what they're trying to do with Dom. If you're trying to pull Dom into this trap, why are you mentioning Liv? Because that's gonna snap Dom out of whatever he might be thinking. He wants to play the video games, but you bring up Liv, and he's like, "Oh, you want to FaceTime Liv?" So Raquel is being really confusing. Now she could be gaslighting with Dom here, don't like him and stuff like that, and she's doing that as a dig to Dom. But still, if you want to make Dom look bad, why don't you just let him proceed as usual? Let him just go on and let him fall into whatever quote unquote trap Finn has. That will make him look worse. So she's just acting really weird because you're friendly with Roxanne, but you like Liv ain't didn't fuck with Roxanne. And then here you're mentioning Liv where you would have, if you wanted to get rid of Dom, you could have just let Dom go ahead and fall into whatever quote unquote trap with Roxanne. You see what I mean? It's just weird. Maybe she's teetering, I don't know. But I don't really like the I really don't like how she's being presented here. Either she's in on the plan, this is another one of those pickle lane situations. Either she's in on the plan with Roxanne and Finn, or she's not all in the plan, but she's got whatever grudge against Liv and Dom for whatever reason. Or she's just proceeding as usual until maybe Liv does something that pushes her over the edge or something like that. But I would at least expect if she's not committed to turning against Liv now, then I would expect her to be sticking up for Liv more and helping out Dom more. Now, if she's jealous about Dom, that needed to come out way before now too. You see what I mean? They wasted so much time with the storyline where you could have been setting up maybe that Raquel hasn't gotten over that Dom prevented her from winning the championship 2 years ago. Maybe she's jealous about the closeness Liv and Dom have. If that's the case, that needed to be presented. You can't really spring that up out of the blue because everybody's gonna be like, "What the hell? How come you didn't mention this earlier?" Do some clues, do some hints. We had all the clues and hints last year. Now it just seems like everything is just coming out. It's just like they're pulling shit out of a hat, and it just doesn't make sense. But I don't know. But I digress. Also with the video games thing, you notice that he left Rhea for chicken tendies and video games with that cursed promo last year. That promo hurts me to my heart, and I still cannot go back and watch the Austin Raw from last year, the one that I went to and saw live. I still can't watch it because of that damn promo. But maybe again, that's Finn trying to use what Dom said against him. I left Rhea for chicken tendies and video games, and she calls me daddy. Maybe he's probably using that as well. But again, Liv and Dom were already together. And that's the last I'm going to mention of that promo tonight. I can't stand that promo because that really did damage to Liv and Dom, and like I said, it's a miracle that they were able to recover and be as over as they are now because that was some straight up sabotage by Triple. Finn's tag was LWO versus JD and Finn. It was a decent match. The crowd was not into it. I noticed they cheered for some of the high spots, but the crowd wasn't really in it. So we had everything going well until El Grande Americano Dos comes out, which brings out Dragon Lee, and they brawl to the back. And then just when that Del Toro or Walking Wild, and just when one of those LWO members was about to pounce on Finn, here comes El Grande Americano Tres to distract the LWO. Finn hits his coup de grace and they win. Now, I was disappointed with that match outcome, not because I've just been saying that Finn and JD should have lost, because I still think they should have. What's the point of holding on to these belts? But it is what it is. But I really wanted LWO to get a chance here. But regardless of that, we now have El Grande Americano Tres in the picture. And with Tres, that is another person that Dom talked to. There's a person that piqued me to Ludwig talking to Dom, and maybe they had said, well, maybe they talked about El Grande then. And I want that person, if you are listening, I'm not sure if they listen to my lives or not. I do know they sent the message to my Not Gonna Lie, and I posted this on the X. If you know who you are the person that sent me that message regarding Ludwig and El Grande Americano and Dom talking to them, because now that I spun up this whole new theory regarding Dom and this army because of you, please message me. I want to give you proper credit. If you don't want to be, if you don't want to have your name out there, that's fine too. So if you want to stay anonymous, fine, but please tell me that. But if not, please tell me your name. So I want to give you proper credit for giving me that idea that I am forming now regarding a king and his army. Because I want to give proper credit. I don't like just saying ideas from people and just taking credit for it. I want to credit properly, especially if they give me the ideas, because that's just wrong to take shit and then not credit, especially if you see it on the internet somewhere. So if you're out there, please let me know. But with Pete Dunne being that person, we might be getting an El Grande army, or at least an army of luchadors for the King of Luchadors. Because a king needs an army. And if you have El Grande Americano Dos and El Grande Americano Tres in AAA, that can help out Dom. They may not be all they might not they could show up to be a front for Dom. Maybe they're a stopgap for people trying to get to Dom, and they're that those last two people before they get to Dom. There's those little lackeys there. So you can have that army for Dom. But here's the interesting thing. With El Grande Americano Dos and El Grande Americano Tres helping out in that match, it endears them to Finn Balor, because those are people that help Finn retain. So if they show up around Judgment Day again, is Finn going to be suspicious? And if they show up around Finn again and then help Dom to turn on Finn, Finn won't see it coming. You see what I mean? There's a lot of different ways they could take it. They could put Dos and Tres El Grande where they acting like they're looking like they're acting independently, but they're under Dom because Dom was the one that got Chad Gable to be El Grande Americano, the original. And then we start getting Dos and Tres, or the people that Dom talk to, because that is just way too much of a coincidence for this not to be tying back to Dom. This had been somebody else as El Grande Americano, maybe one of the Creed brothers, or somebody else, maybe an Austin Theory or something like that. If that had been anybody else, I could say, oh, maybe they're just doing things with this gimmick. But it's just way too much of a it is way too much of a coincidence for Pete Dunne and Ludwig, who have been seen talking to Dom secretly in the background months ago, for it not for this not to have there's not it's how do I say it? It's too much of a coincidence for this not to be impacting the current storyline, because they could have used anybody else. You could put Tyler Bate in there. Where is he? What if they used Tyler Bate as that? If they had used Tyler Bate as El Grande Americano Tres, then you might be able to say that's not a theory anymore. But they're using people that talked to Dom. That's just way too much of a connection there. And knowing how Triple H is with his stupid long term booking, maybe that was on purpose. So we could go a lot of different ways with the El Grande Americanos. They could be an army for Dom and AAA. They could help Dom and the WWE just by they've endeared themselves to Finn Balor. And what if they're around when Finn is thinking he's going to turn on Dom, but then Dom has El Grande Dos and Tres to help him out, and then they pretty much declare Dom as King of the Luchadors. That brings that to WWE TV, and then we're set. And you can have a face turn with Finn off of that, because this is something Dom has been doing secretly. Finn has been doing everything obviously. He's being obvious with Roxanne. He's being obvious about Dom and trying to get him to split with Liv. But Dom is doing things on the slide and in the dark. And that's way more of a heel move than what Finn is doing right now.